Hey everybody, it's Callous. Live narration time, CI7 round 1. 2 CI newcomers right here, first timers, but by no means first timers to the tier. Siglut, ADV main, in fact, to my knowledge, ADV only. And then BIHI, who is I guess more of a rounder and I guess more of a DPP main, but big asterisks on those things because he played ADV exclusively in SPL this past season. He was one of the highest performing players, and he's someone who has proven time and time again that any tier that he gives a shit about, wants to put effort into, he's really good at. Wouldn't underestimate him for a second. So we've got clearly some kind of stally team for BIHI on the top with Ahari. He got a knockoff off, which is always something to be nervous about. Nobody really wants to be knocked off, but you got to pick somebody. And it's going to be Skarm in this case. So he gets spikes down. Cross chop does miss. Toxic comes down. That may or may not trigger Guts. It also could just be a thick fat Hariyama. I think both abilities are very viable, depending on the kind of team that you have. And like I said, lead Hari, even Hari with knockoff can be on offensive teams, but it's far more likely to be on a stally team. And when I see the Starmie, my immediate thought is that it's a bulky, bold T-Wave star on a stall team. But we'll see in a moment whether that's the case or not. Siglut leading with a T-Tar and then showing Skarm doesn't tell us much of anything. And back to T-Tar we go against the Skarm now. On the other side, Siglut is the guy who actually popularized what is now known as Guaktar, but the Firegrass Ice Coverage plus Brick Break, specifically Max Speed Lumberry, that is a Siglut invention that he was tearing up the ladder with a few years back. So obviously, having invented the set and obviously being a fan of the set, wouldn't be shocking if Siglut brought something like that to this match. So here we go with Meta coming in on Bliss, who did get unluckily burnt. Meta gains lefties, so we know that it's not Choice Band or any kind of gimmicky pinch berry. Magneton coming in trying to catch Skarm, and he is correct. Score 1 for Siglut. Out of here. Doesn't even bother trying to protect. You would need a bazillion of them. Let's not waste time. He's going to let this trade happen. Dugtrio for the revenge kill, so 1 for 1. All is well and good. However, Siglut with the tempo advantage can now switch anything he wants into Dugtrio, knowing that it is presumably locked on Earthquake with its Choice Band. So we'll see what he wants to do. He goes for Flygon here. Interesting. I've seen squads like this where the last poke is actually Rest, Curse, EQ, Lax. Not sure if that's the case here, but it's a similar structure to teams that do that. It could also just be a water. It could just be like my Lotic or something. Or Suicune. All those things make sense. But an interesting team game 1 for Siglut without a doubt. And he's going to come up just short. 1% of killing the Hari. Definitely matters here. That could have been a very unlucky damage roll. I wonder if Siglut, in hindsight, wishes that he switched, or alternatively, if it's just, 80% of the time he gets that kill and he just got really unlucky with a roll. I'm not sure. It does result in the trade, but he potentially could have had his 100% Flygon still alive, which very well may end up mattering in this game. The last in this case is not what I said it might be. I'm usually really good at that. I have a pretty good track record, but going to be wrong this time. Last poke Zapdos, not what I thought it would be. He's going to avoid Sing and go for Roar, prompting out Starmie, who's obviously going to be very hesitant to stay in here, so it could be a good turn for Siglut to either double switch or Roar again. I think it is very unlikely that Starmie just sits in and takes it here. But we've got our first pause. Not a very long one. Here's Bliss, and Siglut does Roar again. Here's Dugtrio, which may or may not have Rock Slide, but even if it does, that Rock Slide will not kill Zapdos without a critical hit. But he's going to respect the possibility anyway. And what a fucking play for BIHI. Are you kidding me? He clicks Earthquake there? Are you fucking kidding me? Wow. Siglut must smack himself in the face after that one. Now he knows what he's up against. What a fucking play. He clicks Earthquake. Wow. BIHI is an animal. That should have woken Siglut right up. Game was relatively even until it fucking wasn't. BIHI now firmly in the lead, and this rapid spin is going to get off, even if some toxics come down, even if some protects come down. This rapid spin is happening, and those spikes are gone. Man, what a fucking play for BIHI. It was close until it wasn't. Turns nothing into something. That EQ was crazy. Picks off the Metagross. Siglut was winning until he wasn't. That's a play. That's how you win games. It's not over, but BIHI just made this way harder for Siglut than it needs to be, and he outplays him here as well. He clicks T-Wave on a Roar turn, going from bad to worse for Siglut. Thunderbolt on Bliss here, 15%. Gonna be able to soft-boiled here, and nothing Siglut can do can stop that. And indeed, it is the obvious soft-boiled. Toxic, put a clock on her, and Scum down to 2%. Not gaining lefties either because the early knockoff. Here comes Starmie on one layer. Put a clock on that as well, sure. But the fact remains that Scarm is at just 2%. And once that dies, the spikes can be removed safely. They'll never be reestablished. I don't see the inevitability. I'm seeing the GGs, and I'm assuming that is Siglut conceding to BIHI. Man, the rest of this tour needs to be on notice. BIHI came to fucking play. That Earthquake was insane. Completely turned around a game where he was miles and miles. I mean, that's all right. Not miles and miles behind, but he was behind. And then grabbed it by the throat and suddenly was ahead and never ever let go of the lead once he took it in that fashion. What a sick play. BIHI's so good. This game really doesn't even end up that close at the end of it. Siglut was dictating the pace, bullying things around, abusing that spike with the Zapdos, forcing Chip on Dugtrio, forcing Starmie out every time under the threat of T-Bolt. It was looking so good for Siglut until it wasn't. BIHI outplays him with an insane Earthquake, and just like that, it turns real quick. BIHI takes game one, and I mean, if you're Siglut, you've got to just be impressed by your opponent. Here they go in game two, not wasting a ton of time. I'll switch sides for continuity. We'll keep Siglut on the bottom and BIHI on the top. Standard leads for both. This matchup is always awkward because they can both legitimately threaten each other with things like CB Brick Break or like Ice Beam, or T-Tar could have like Rock Slide or T-Wave, for example. But Ice Beam is the worst case scenario. It's Earthquake, though, not Brick Break, and it's not Choice Band Earthquake either. So kind of risky for Salamence to opt to stay in there. And we end up with a Ludicolo against the T-Tar, which makes the sand here. There's sand already from the lead, but I say that because Ludicolo often carries Rain Dance, so its ability to make sand may end up mattering in this matchup, but maybe not if they're just going to go blow for blow. So they exchange a Surf and an HP Bug. BIHI knows there's going to be a switch, so he doesn't Surf again. Instead, he Leech Seeds. That ends up being a good play. Gets a lot of health back from the much higher health pool of the Blissey. Unable to pull the trigger on Leech Seed again, but the recovery there definitely meaningful. Ludicolo may still have some use later in the battle, whereas at 33% or whatever it was at before, it's a lot less likely to get too much value. But another Mon gets Leech Seeded. Kuhn also has high HP, not as high as Blissey, but high. And the Ludicolo is back in business. And here's another Leech Seed, hitting Blissey again. So Ludicolo is almost at full health now. And out of the way we go. Snorlax comes in. There's a Wish from Siglut. Can pass that wherever he'd like. I mean, or keep it, but unless you're clicking Counter or T-Wave, I'm not clear what Blissey thinks it's going to do to Snorlax exactly. Gonna pass it to Claydol. Interesting. Not exactly a traditional Snorlax counter. It does blank the Earthquake, so the Wish doesn't do anything. And a Claydol blanks another Claydol's Earthquake, only to be met by a Shadow Ball and an over-prediction Earthquake from BIHI. Shadow Ball only did about a third there, after Lefties leaves him at about 3/4. And now Shadow Ball is going to connect with a T-Tar. Does it have Pursuit? Earthquake and Crunch, respectively. Big damage from both, but the Claydol, crucially, is faster here, and there's no way Tower would live another Earthquake. So Siglut feels compelled to go for that again. It does only 21% with the resistance on the Ludicolo, but it's going to outspeed that too. It's going to boom, and the Ludicolo is no more. And I think that's probably okay because I don't think the last poke in the back for BIHI is going to be a spiker. So I don't know that you need Claydol to spin. That's probably an acceptable trade. And we end up tar on tar here. Lefty says that Siglut has the faster one. BIHI obviously is going to pick up on that. And we'll see what he wants to do with that information. It's a special tar for BIHI. Siglut showed HP bug, so definitely a better matchup for Siglut, who's both faster and more threatening here. But he's going to over-predict with Rock Slide. Doesn't get the crit or the flinch, and he is immediately Brick Break down from what is now revealed to be a mixed tar. And that is probably not a poke that many people were expecting to see in this tournament. Say hello to Dragonite in the back from Siglut, Brick Breaking his way to an even game. Dragonite, one of the things that it does very well, and one of the reasons that you use it over Salamence, is its very diverse move pool. It learns things that Salamence doesn't, such as Heal Bell, Focus Punch, Ice Beam, and we'll see if you can make use. Thunderbolt is another thing it learns that Salamence doesn't. Right now it goes for Heal Bell, and it eats an Ice Beam. It's bulkier than men, so it's always going to survive those non-crit Ice Beams from Claydol, but it's still... It didn't feel good. He is still 4x weak to it. Takes 62% for his troubles. BIHI tries to curse up, but is immediately roared away. Got ourselves a 4-4 game with one unrevealed poke for each player in the back. CM coming down. This might not be Rest Lax. It may or may not be. But Siglut's got to be aware of the possibility of being self-destructed on here. Lax is going to go for Curse. So one boost each. CM and Curse respectively. Surf again, 24, and now Return coming back. Lax is 2-hit KO'd by Surf here and cannot 1-hit KO back with a non-crit Return, so it looks like Kuhn has the advantage here, and it is a Rest Lax. So this team looks very similar to the team that Bruno brought against Altina 2 CIs ago, which was one of the coolest teams of the tour at the time. Roar is going to bring Claydol out. Now Mence is going to switch in. Intimidate not relevant here. It does resist water, though, so it takes just 20% even with the boosted serve. I wonder if it's Wishmance to be taking it that well. There's Roar. No, he's short Earthquake, so perhaps it's just a very bulky DD Mence or physical Mence. DD is weird, though, without Magneton, or maybe it just is Last Poke Magneton in the back. It makes sense, right? You've got a Mag Doll team and you're clearing the way, because this Skarm set, or sorry, this Lax set is unviable into Skarm without Magneton support, so maybe it is just Magneton in the back for BIHI. I think that makes a lot of sense. Ice Beam comes down on Suicune here, can get a rest off, and this is probably a good time to do it. And there it is, going to take a nap. We know that there's Heal Bell support in the back in the form of the Dragonite. There's also Wish support in the form of the Bliss. And it is, in fact, DD, so it must be Magneton in the back for BIHI. And I think Siglut might sit in here and eat 2 hidden powers before roaring it away, which is risky business because if he's crit, all of a sudden I think he just loses. But he's going to not be crit this time, and there is the roar. But temporary solution to a permanent problem. Does he have an answer to the DD Mence, which immediately comes back in, thinking that there might just be a rest, but Surf is all the same. That's fine. What's to prevent him from DDing up again here? Apparently Jirachi is to prevent him. That's the last poke in the back for Siglut. Comes in on hidden power. He's representing that he has something meaningful here, such as Ice Punch, and there it is. It is the Magneton in the back that I thought it would be. It just makes sense, and he's going to sub up and try to block something like T-Wave. Unfortunately, that's not what he goes for. Thunderbolt immediately going to pop the sub, and Thunderbolt again is going to kill the Jirachi via a very relevant critical hit. I think Siglut might be in some trouble here. BIHI looking good to get the 2-0 over Siglut. I'm seeing the GGs. They must be ahead of us in real time, but I don't think that's too shocking. I feel like BIHI is clearly ahead at this moment. Here comes D-Knight. There's the Wake. There's the Return. Not going to survive. only the Suicune and the Blissey, which I think are going to have a very hard time killing a full health Curse Reslax at this moment. There's Calm Mind anyway as he makes a try for it. And there's another critical hit from BIHI with return this time. Curse is up on the roar, so Siglut fighting to barely stay in it, but I don't think the combo of what he has left can stop the DD Mens plus the Lax. There's the boom to really make it official. Certainly Blissey can't beat the Lax here. Alternatively, Magneton can just click Toxic here. That's what happens. The clock is on Bliss. She has no ability to remove that. She will be stalled out or killed. Pick your poison. Either way, no longer winnable for Siglut. And that is the moment that the GGs come down. And it is the outcome that many of you expected. I'm going to have to do a quick peek on what the predictions were here. The predictions have meant nothing up to this point. But let me go ahead and check that. Does the curse of being predicted to win continue? It does not. Relatively close, but BIHI was the predicted winner in this one. So I think 2 of the people that have been predicted to win this so far have actually done so, and every other win has been from an underdog, which is crazy. But BIHI takes care of business, gets the 2-0 victory over Siglut, and looks very impressive in doing so. Certainly one of the best performers of this opening round, and looks like one of the players to beat. That Earthquake in Game 1 with Dugtrio was insane. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. Please consider subscribing to the channel. You'll be notified about all the games in this tour, because every single one of them is going to end up on YouTube. And if you guys have the means and the interest in donating to the tour, I would appreciate that as well. We are pushing $2,000 already in round 1, which is incredible. And I think getting to 2,600 to break last year's record, or maybe even $3,000 for a huge number, I think those are both feasible. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.